Yes,
Yep.
sir. And you are going to be spotlighted. So if we're ready for that, we can begin.
Okay, I'll speak up as much as I can.
I can hear you fine, Dan. So I don't know if there are people having any trouble, but I can hear you clearly.
Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, let me just kick things off. This is our ongoing effort to spotlight our Rotarians and get to know them better. And we decided to do this one live instead of pre-recording it. And then there will be time after these questions and our conversation for your questions. So just if you can hold those for a bit, and we will learn now a little bit more about Dan. So Dan, let me just run through a couple questions here with you. First of all, where were you born? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family, siblings that you might have had.
Well, I was born in Findlay, Ohio, but when I was, an infant, we moved to Toledo and grew up and raised our family in Toledo. I've got, I had three sisters, one is deceased, and two sisters, one is deceased. And my other sister just lives about 6 houses away now. She relocated to Oxford a couple years ago. So we see her often and we're lucky about that. We have two daughters, and my wife and I have known each other all our lives and been dating since she's been 14. That's when her father would finally allow her to go out with me. And he was smart. And we've been married for 52 years.
So were you like grade school sweethearts?
Yeah, we met in church. So we were Lutheran, so they had this thing called Luther League. So
Very nice.
yeah. I just tried to stay low so she didn't realize what she did until it was too late.
So tell us a little bit more about your children, Dan, and what they're up to.
We've got two daughters. Our oldest daughter, Maureen, and her husband and family live next door to us now. She is a music teacher at Kramer, and her husband Heath is a high school history teacher and the soccer coach and track coach. So they both they didn't meet at Miami, but they both went to Miami at the same time. Our younger daughter, Katie, lives across the street, and with her one daughter and her husband. Katie is started out on the East Coast in school in harp performance, and quickly realized that probably business made more sense, and so she works for a company that advises nonprofits on financial things, and she'd tell me what she did, but she'd have to kill me. So I'm not quite sure I understand what she does. But when you could travel, she travels a lot, and we're just glad to have them both this close. And we point out that we were here first. Our daughters came next to us.
So you've sort of built almost like a little a compound, sort of like the Kennedy compound.
Well, that's what our neighbors tell us too.
And you're sure your daughter isn't working for the CIA?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your college, and you said you were in Toledo, but then somehow you found your way back this direction. Tell us a little bit about that.
We people of our age had an advantage during Vietnam from the standpoint it kept us focused. And if you were a guy, you either stayed in school or you had a full-time job, travel, uniforms, personal weapons, the whole works. And I wasn't much of an academic, so I needed that motivation. By the time I was a junior in college, we were married, and that helped me stay in school and graduate. I'm a finance major. In terms of my career, I graduated from the University of Toledo, as did my wife. At one time, my wife didn't start college until our second child was born, and it took her about 3.5 years, and it took me longer. But we did at one point have the same class, not at the same time, and we both got an A- in this class. I thought I had arrived. The world was mine. I got an A-. My wife was mad because it brought her GPA down. So that gives you an idea. Anyway, so finance major, started out working in a local bank, and then worked for another bank, which was a larger bank in Ohio. Did that for about 10 years, and then joined a private company that actually I helped finance on the commercial lending side when I was doing that, and stayed there for a while. Owned a business for a while and sold that. That took us down to Florida contractually for about 18 months, and then when my sentence was over and I could get out of that, we decided we wanted to be in a bigger market, and by then our oldest daughter was firmly entrenched in the Cincinnati area, as was my sister. So Cincinnati made sense. We started, I worked downtown initially. At that time, I'd switched into the commercial real estate business, and I soon found that Fairfield was a great place, but it was kind of halfway to nothing because we were always out of place. We still had to commute downtown, and we still had to commute up to see our families. So we decided to come up to Oxford, where we came about 1998, and love it up here. We've lived on Bull Run, where we live now. We moved in 2002, so this is also our longest term residence we've had in our area.
So you said you built a business and sold it. I'm sort of curious what was that business?
It was a business that made component parts for garage doors, and it was a business that I bought that was kind of in line with what I had been doing the past few years, and helping with some mergers and acquisitions, both on the private side and some on a little bit larger scale.
Excellent. So what was your first job, Dan? What was that like?
Let me think. I used to be an ice cream boy, and you pedal the bike, with the cart in front of it. That was, I think I was 14 or 15. And
hang on. I'm apparently young enough that I don't know what you're talking about. So what you got on a bike and you had ice cream on it?
I didn't know this was going to have to be this hard. We were going to have a history lesson. Yeah, they used to have, Randy, it looked like a big freezer on wheels with a bicycle seat and another wheel behind it and pedals. Okay. And you'd go, in this case, downtown Toledo in the morning and pick it up, and you get your supply of ice cream for the day and a bunch of dry ice, and then your goal was to sell it and not eat the profits. So where were you biking to? Were you going to like sporting events, or what? How are you? No, a neighborhood. This is when you'd go down in, for instance, one section of Oxford might be my neighborhood, and you just go along and ring your bell. It had a little bell on the handle, and you rang it, and little kids would run out with their nickel for a popsicle, and I think a drumstick was 12 cents. So we didn't sell many of those. That was big bucks.
Okay, well, that's an important history lesson for me.
And I am going to find and send to you a picture of one of those if I can.
So do you remember, like, what would be your gross on a particular day? Like, how much would you make?
Oh, a big day, if I made $40, that was a real big day. And most days I made 25 or 30. Okay. And on occasion you make 40. At some point you simply run out of stuff to sell.
And you're also getting exercise while you're doing this too.
That is true.
So there's an advantage. I love that.
Well, I got to send you a picture because I didn't know that you didn't know.
No, you definitely need to bring that, send that to the group. Let's see here. What are some things that, from your perspective, that we wouldn't know about? I mean, I don't think any of us knew about your ice cream endeavors, but
Yeah, it's on my resume.
what are what are some other things that just would surprise the group here about your background or things that your hobbies you have?
Well, my hobbies have been, for years I played tennis until one day my body said, don't play tennis anymore. And took a while off. And then about a year ago, picked up this funny sport called pickleball, which I thoroughly enjoy. And I play probably 4 times a week.
Wow.
And I got Betsy believing that maybe she should try it. And she's having fun with it, I think. And some other people. So Kina, who's here, I met her. I play at the rec center on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that's where I met her. And it's a great sport. So, and I don't have, we've traveled a bit, and I don't know that I've got anything surprising beyond the ice cream business and the fact that I probably did some merger and acquisition work when I was in my 30s and early 40s.
So as a fellow tennis player, I keep being asked if I'm going to try pickleball out, and I keep trying not to because I feel like I have to, remain true to the sport. But maybe for the good of folks here who haven't heard about pickleball, or try to explain what it actually is.
Well, it's played on. You can put about 4 pickleball courts on its tennis court if you count going all the way back to the fence behind the service line.
Okay.
And so the court's 40 by 22. The rules are very similar to, I guess, badminton or volleyball from the standpoint of how you score. The ball is a big wiffle ball with holes in it, about the size of, a little bit bigger, or about the same size as a baseball.
Okay.
And you hit it with a paddle, which, like all things in sports, you started out making them with wood, and then of course, then you've got to buy a composite, and of course that costs 10 times what a wood one costs. That's the usual thing. And then it's a great game to play because as you get older, we're a little less mobile, but it gives you some opportunity for exercise, and it's like anything else. You can work at it as hard or as little as you want. So thoroughly enjoy it. Encourage you to all do it.
Is it always doubles, or can also be singles?
Well, for me, it's always doubles, but no, they have singles too.
Okay. Yeah, I think eventually I'm going to find myself on a pickleball court. I think
come on out. I'll give you a lesson. I'll let you borrow a racket.
That's in my future, I do believe. So what motivated you, Dan? When did you join Rotary, and what motivated you to join?
I was thinking about it just because I had switched from running a commercial brokerage in Cincinnati and repositioned up to Oxford because most of my business was coming out of, let's say, the Butler County area, even though some of it's further away in Pittsburgh or whatever. And was thinking of trying to become more involved in the community. And I went to a PEO function, and Bill Schilling was there. And Bill, offered me exactly the right price. He said he'd buy me lunch if if I'd attend the Rotary meeting. So I jumped on that, and that's what happened. So if you've got any complaints, talk to Mr. Schilling.
Yeah, what year was that?
I think I've been in Rotary not quite 5 years.
Okay. Well, I love the PEO connection too, because a lot of us who are married and have spouses in Oxford seem to be involved in PEO as well. So that's a nice.
Yeah, my wife joined that organization in Toledo, and then she loves the group that she's with up here in Oxford.
My wife does
knows your wife well, and has had a chance to meet a lot of really nice ladies.
Absolutely. So since you've been you've been very active, Dan. What are some of the highlights for you in your tenure at Rotary so far?
Well, I don't know if it's a highlight, but one of the things that was good for me with Rotary, Mr. Sidley called me one day, and this is right after I had joined, and the usual, you got a lot of strange faces, and you're trying to look at name badges as best you can without being rude. But there are a lot of new faces to remember. And he asked if I wanted to begin doing the sergeant at arms deal and taking attendance and checking people in at the door. And I knew it would be painful, but I also knew it would be good for me, because I said, Pat, I said, it's probably a good way for me to learn everyone's name, isn't it? He said, yep. And boy, was he right. And it was really tough going for 2 or 3 meetings. And since I forget 5 things and then remember 4, but it was a good way to go and learn everybody and see them as they came in the door.
And so you all have been in Oxford for about what, 20 years now?
About 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just sort of curious what you've seen in those 20 years from Oxford's perspective. You know, what changes have you noticed?
Well, first of all, they took down the water tower. You know, that was a big deal.
Huge deal. Yeah.
The mayor got death threats. And you know, the one thing that I think we're all lucky here about is Miami is such a good school, and the kids that go here get a good education and have a good college experience. And it shows in your day-to-day interaction with the kids. Does it create some issues on occasion? Yes. But, you know, back when life was more normal, you go into a store and somebody bumps into you, they say, excuse me. And it's, you know, I've always been happy to see the kids be in the community, watch them grow and develop. And then some of the stuff they do is kind of funny. So.
Oh, yeah. Now, did your daughters, did they go to Miami or did they go somewhere else?
My older daughter, Maureen, who's the teacher here, went to Miami. She and her husband did. My younger daughter went to Boston University. So.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
So she, fortunately, she came back west.
I have a niece that went to Washington University. Great school.
Okay, yeah. So.
Well, let me open it up. I've gone through my general list of questions and happy to field any questions we have for Dan.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that there are none.
No, I think Norm's got a question. He's got to unmute there, I think.
Warren?
We can't hear you, Norm.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I was going to tell you, Dan, I remember well the boys riding the bicycles with the ice cream. That was normal in Richmond, Indiana, where I grew up.
Thank you, Norm.
It was a big treat.
Oh, it was. Well, you know, now they have the ice cream trucks that used to come down the streets. And of course, it was a mixed bag in terms of aggravating the parents and exciting the kids and sugar input and all that stuff. But it was a little bit different world. The neighborhood that in Toledo, where I usually had my route, was torn down, and then a big manufacturing plant of sorts was put in that general area, and that's subsequently been torn down. So that kind of gives you an idea of the history.
Warren, did you have a question?
Well, I don't know if it's a question. Dan, tell us a little bit about the things that, quite apart from your job and living in Oxford and so forth, what are 1 or 2 things that have been important in your life? I mean, that you wanted to do but couldn't, or you didn't want to do but had to, something like that. You know, the life stuff.
Boy, as positioned, I'm not sure I'm able to answer that. I'll tell you that what I enjoy about my life, and particularly being in Oxford, first of all, the fact that proximity to our family, when my wife and I were raising our girls, we never thought that this would happen. We've got access to our grandkids literally every day, and that's special. living in Oxford, the community, I thoroughly enjoy it. It's got so many diverse opportunities in terms of meeting people. Yes, you meet a lot of people who work for the university, but some are history professors and some are mathematics guys. And so just the people that you meet, they're all interesting to talk to. So I don't think I did a very good job of answering your question, but that's about what I can do.
Jay, did you have a question? You need to unmute, Jay.
Randy, I have a comment.
Yeah.
The worst job I ever had, and it only lasted about 2 weeks, was driving an Uncle Marty's ice cream truck in Cleveland. And well, a terrible job because it was a stick shift, for one thing, stick shift truck. And if you let the clutch out and got it rolling, you were rolling too fast. So then you had to stick the brake and the clutch in and let it slow down, and it almost died, and let the clutch out again. And the kids would run out with these grubby, snotty pennies, and you had to count everything on the spot. And the parents were often very obnoxious. So thank God I got another job after about 2 weeks. This was my first summer out of college. So I sympathize with you on the bike, but it sounds like you did a lot better than I did.
I don't know.
Yeah, the ice cream truck I'm aware of. I just wasn't aware of the ice cream bike. That was
We're going to find you a picture.
Jay.
Yes, I had a question. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. I was wondering where you went to church in Toledo. I went to Hope Lutheran. Was that it?
No, Mary Alice and I grew up on the east side of Toledo, Jay. And for the people who aren't familiar with Toledo, living on the east side of Toledo is like living on the west side of Cincinnati. No one goes there. So my wife went to Clay High School and I went to Wade High School.
Well, I went to DeVilbiss and you were really hot rivals of DeVilbiss.
Oh yeah, and to answer your question,
that was a blood sport.
It was. To answer your question, we grew up and met each other in the Lutheran church where we went on the east side. And my wife has been a church organist since she's been 14. And
wow,
I see.
When you see one of these organs that's got 5 keyboards and 2,000 buttons across wrapped around the organist, she knows what each of those does.
That's just amazing. Well, back on church, I must say, back in Toledo, I was confirmed at Hope Lutheran, and I just love my little church.
Know it well. Mary Alice has played the organ there, and we lived in Ottawa Hills since our girls began to.
I see. Well, that's an elegant part of town. Actually, quite wealthy and posh.
Okay, this is. I'm going to cut this off because I see several people nodding off. And
Dan, listen. Thank you, and I just personally want to thank you for being president through a very difficult patch in our world. You've done a phenomenal job, and it's been great chatting with you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.